Next on the Broadway Show, Good Morning Again, Baltimore will take you to the 20th anniversary of Hairspray's reunion concert. Plus, the show must go on. You'll meet the standbys for two of Broadway's biggest shows. And we're feeling hot, hot, hot. We're chatting with the star of the new musical, Some Like It Hot, Adrianna Hicks. I'm Tamsen Fadal, and this is the Broadway Show. The Broadway Show is back with another stellar episode. I'm Tamsen Fadal. Hairspray debuted on Broadway 20 years ago, the Tony Award winner for Best Musical, and this past week, the original Broadway company reunited in New York City for a special anniversary party at 54 Below.
I think that Hairspray is just a feel-good show, right? Like, at the end of the day, it has great messages, but the music is so amazing. It's a feel-good show. Like, hello, like, it's like the chubby girl gets the guy, but also changes the world, you know? And I think, like, we forget that the show is about, like, a show was based in the 60s. You think it was, like, this is, like, from the 1800s. It wasn't. This is your parents' childhood. And, like, I think it's important. It's a very important show.
We had the cast come back and, like, cold turkey do Nicest Kids in Town and run and tell that, the choreography. I was like, oh, there's no way I'm going to remember it. But crazy enough, everybody remembered it and was like, nailed it. It was crazy, but that was so fun because that was like the energy and the feeling that we had on our first rehearsals. It was so fun.
It was glorious. Who would have thought we would have been in a room together doing the Hairspray choreography again? And it was just, it was a car wash for my soul. It was just so beautiful, and this was a special time in everyone's life, and it really, changed our lives. It really was my big break. I had done Footloose and Rocky Horror Show in the ensemble, and then I got this show, and it's the classic story. I wasn't Link Larkin, and rehearsal started, and then James Carpinello left the show, and they bumped me up to Link, and it was a dream come true for me.
I can't stop crying, so am I on tears, I'm gonna cry.
We really always were a family, like instantly, and the bond that we have is so authentic and deep. This moment that I always remember is our first, we used to call it a gypsy run. It's the first invited dress where largely the community comes out to see your first run before you have your first preview. And it's the same day, it's the afternoon, and then that night you do your first preview. And the roof came off of the theater at the Neil Simon. I'd never heard anything like it. We had so much adrenaline pumping. I lost my shoe in the first number. I was dancing barefoot in hose. I'll never forget that day.
Hairspray just tells, shows the world the way we wish it could be. And so, for 2.5 hours, people get this, have this glimpse of if only it could be this simple to figure it all out.
You can feel it. It's just well up with tears every time.
Of course, Hairspray is still incredibly popular today. In fact, the Hairspray National Tour is currently underway. They're two of the biggest shows on Broadway, Funny Girl and The Music Man, starring some of the biggest stars on the planet. But what happens when the name on the marquee can't make it to the stage? You call on the standby. The pandemic has shown us just how important these great actors really are. Let's send it out to Paul Wontorek.
Max Clayton is covering the role of Harold Hill, played by Hugh Jackman in The Music Man. And Julie Benko stands by for Fanny Brice in Funny Girl and is currently playing the part full-time ahead of Lea Michele's arrival. I spoke with the talented duo at the citizenM Hotel. You are both in two of Broadway's biggest musical revivals. Julie, you are the standby for Fanny Brice, and then you will be going on
once a week, Thursday nights.
Every Thursday night.
Every Thursday night.
Julie Benko
yeah,
night
I'll be here
at
every
the August
Thursday.
Wilson.
Try the View.
And Max, you have been working for a really long time with The Music Man.
Yes.
You were with Hugh Jackman throughout the entire creation process of the show. Is that correct?
That is correct. I was brought on board right before the pandemic in the fall of 2020.
When you were in Moulin Rouge.
When I was in Moulin Rouge, and
Yeah.
I was doing a dance lab where we were creating a lot of the numbers with Warren Carlisle and Jerry Zaks and our creative team, because he was out of town filming, and they needed somebody to just stand in and sort of be a body.
Right.
And that's truly how my journey began.
And you have gone on.
I have,
You
yes.
had this COVID emergency not long ago.
Yeah.
You know, COVID comes and
I
goes.
know,
in
I know. You
Broadway
never know.
companies.
You never know. It's been wild. It happened. I got the call that I was going on the day after the Tony Awards,
Right.
which was a crazy
Right.
night for me. And Matt, my partner, who had
Matt
just
Doyle
won, Matt
won
Doyle.
a Tony Award on Sunday,
I won
then
a-
Tuesday.
I
you
was
were
playing Harold Hill,
Professor Harold Hill
on Broadway.
When you get these jobs, your friends are sort of like, well, let me know when I can come see you. But it's great when you can actually be like, this is the week, or this is the weekend, I'm on, like.
Yeah, well, I actually found out, like, when I got cast, I assumed, I was like, oh, I'll never go on, you know. And then a couple days before rehearsal started, the man making my wig, you know, he was measuring my head and he said, so, you're going on so soon in the run? I said, excuse me? So then, you know, then they told me, but it took a minute. It was, rehearsals hadn't even started yet. So then I found out I had these days, and yeah, I was so scared for so long, and
Right.
I would go home. You know, your job is to like watch everything and tape everything and go home and just be ready.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's terrifying. And then you go on and you sort of like black out. And you're like,
Yeah.
you enter this weird focus state where your body sort of takes over. It knows because you've done it in your living room that many times, so it just knows what to do.
I feel like audiences have become very used to and very open to sort of the fun of, who are we seeing tonight? You know, you used to hear classic stories of, you know, unfortunately tonight's performance,
Right.
Hugh Jack, and then the whole audience
Right.
groans, and then
Right.
the understudies backstage like, oh, well, great. That's not really happening right now. There's a real celebration in the community and beyond.
100%. And I think taking the job, this was pre-pandemic, I thought it would be that. And I'm so blown away by the support of the cast, especially the audiences, the creative teams, the producers who are celebrating all of us. The fact that, I mean, Hugh Jackman and Sutton Foster are truly the greatest leaders I've ever worked with, and I think it's going to be very hard to top. They're such wonderful people, first and foremost, and the fact that they have taken the time to stop the show essentially after bows every time to celebrate us is something that we don't take for granted at all.
Normally I have gotten entrance applause, but there were a few times where people, they just didn't know.
Yeah.
They're like, who is that? You know, the lights come up and there wasn't. And then to feel that and then feel the switch happen after Greatest Star, where literally like the first lines are like, I'm the greatest star, I am by far, but no one knows it. And people would laugh because they didn't know who I was. And then at the end of the number, like suddenly I could feel how excited they were. It's like this meta theatrical moment where they're like, it's an unknown person, and now suddenly I'm invested and I'm so excited to be there for this person who I never heard of before. And now they're like on your team and you can feel it, and it feels like you go on this journey together. And then, you know, at the end, you feel this moment when you come out and they're just so excited to have been there for this moment where they feel like they've discovered you, and you know, and you're just so grateful that they were there to be supportive in that moment, which is such a vulnerable moment. I've had plenty of people write to me and say, yeah, I got there and I was disappointed to see a white slip, and now I'll never say that again because it was just so thrilling to be a part of that.
Everybody loves
you
a
know?
Star is Born moment.
Yeah.
And I feel like you guys both had those experiences. You got to both have that.
It's funny, we both have covered in many shows, but it's one thing to be a standby for one, you know, two of the largest roles ever written, and it's another thing to be a standby for an individual. And I think with Hugh especially, I am standing by for Harold, but I'm standing by for Hugh, and that to me means the most, because I've seen how much he's taken care of me, and I could never ever have successfully done a week and a half in his shoes without knowing I had his trust and support, and that is all I've had from him. I'll never be able to thank him enough for that. It's been so special.
And though the postman might ring twice, some like the man who brings the ice. He cometh with his block to stock my Frigidaire.
Some Like It Hot is guaranteed to sizzle on the Broadway stage this November. Rehearsals for the new musical are well underway. The company is led by Adrianna Hicks, last seen on Broadway in the musical 6. Now, in Some Like It Hot, she plays Sugar. Let's send it out to Charlie Cooper.
Adrianna, we're so excited to have you here and to chat about your new role as Sugar in Some Like It Hot. Talk to me a little bit about auditions and what that was like for you.
Those auditions were actually very unique because it wasn't through just general auditions for the show that I got seen for it. I actually was going in for Dreamgirls for all of the women at one point whenever that was happening, and Casey Nicolau, the amazing director of this production, said, like, you know what, you would actually be perfect for this other show that I'm getting ready to do. And the rest is history. It was all by myself and a very beautiful experience that I actually won't forget that. It was really cool because you never know where that leads to. And now it's leading to Broadway. That's really cool.
So incredible. So obviously that particular role, when I think of the movie, I think of Marilyn Monroe. Those are huge shoes to fill. How do you prepare for something like that?
I'm actually thinking about that now because it's like, okay, girl, you got a few more months before things really start get rolling. And I think the best way for me to prepare for it is to understand that, like, yes, those are shoes to fill, but also to remember what my director did say, which was like, we're not trying to impersonate Marilyn Monroe. We're not even trying to take that approach. We want you to be you.
What is it like working with Amber Ruffin? I love to see, when I see women of color on stage, but then also kind of behind the pen, behind the scenes.
She is fantastic. I love her because she's very, I didn't get a chance to work with her as much as I would like to, and I'm sure that's gonna come further down the line, but she's fun because she's so youthful. She's very like, okay, we're gonna try this. Like, okay, let's write this down. Then she'll laugh at herself or something. Like, she's really, really funny in that way, but such a down-to-earth, kind person.
So I know that Sugar kind of like leads a girl group, and it kind of makes me think of 6 in general, because do you think that kind of helped transition you into this?
100%. I didn't even think about it like that until you said it that way, and that is so true, because you think there is a comfort zone that was naturally there going into the rehearsal process for this show. Yeah, it's like, oh yeah, I'm surrounded by women, and they're playing instruments, and I get to like lead them and be the leading lady. What? It's the same thing. And again, it's just more female empowerment that I'm all about, empowering women and knowing who they are outside of the identity of things that have, that the world will try to put on you. But to see these women say, hey, in the 1930s, say, hey, we're gonna start our own band and we're gonna do this, it's very empowering. With this show of 6, it taught me how to be unapologetic about who I was and who I am, and who I am becoming. And I for that, I can take that knowledge and that lesson with me for the rest of my life, not just into Some Like It Hot.
There's still a whole lot more to talk about on this edition of the Broadway Show. Coming up, we'll talk to one of Broadway's incredible performers about why he's just gotta dance. I'm Tamsen Fadal, and this is the Broadway Show, and we'll be right back. Welcome back to the Broadway Show. I'm Tamsen Fadal. Let's get back to it. Billy Crystal is back on Broadway in Mr. Saturday Night. Crystal stars as Buddy Young Jr., a washed-up comedian whose star burned out decades earlier. And one of Billy's co-stars is Shoshana Bean. Let's send it back to Paul Wontorek.
You're in a brand new musical. That's not every day you get to open in a brand new musical, create a new musical.
No, especially these days, huh? How does it, I'm getting my sea legs. It's definitely a transition.
When's the last time you had a brand new musical?
20 years ago in Hairspray.
20 years ago. I was going to bring up the 20 number because
I'm proud of it. I'm proud of it.
Yeah, because 20 years ago I feel like you were doing Hairspray out of town, and then you brought it in summer 2002. You are hitting your Broadway debut anniversary. It's amazing.
True.
Did you have it in the back of your mind, like, I really want to be on Broadway for my anniversary?
On the 20th year from the day. No, it was the farthest thing from my mind, to be honest. It kind of came out of nowhere, but yeah, this is a special year for the Hairspray crew, for sure.
So tell me about Mr. Saturday Night. Billy Crystal is the star of Mr. Saturday Night.
Sure.
International superstar Billy Crystal, who was in and directed the film. And so this is a musical adaptation of his film from the 90s.
Yeah. I'm terrified of him because I grew up he is who he is. He's a legend, but he's lovely and a genius, and watching him work and watching him sort of figure things out and try different jokes, and just watching him riff. I'm watching a genius at work. It's a masterclass.
And you play his daughter.
I'm his daughter. I have not been an easy, our relationship has not been easy. I have had addictions, and I just have been trouble from the beginning, essentially. And it's really about his redemption in not just professionally, but also the sort of healing of a family, really.
So is Broadway a revived focus for you in your career? I mean, are you
It
looking
never
more?
was not
Really?
a focus or an interest. It just was like, I just have so many goals and so many things I want to do. And after Wicked, it just felt like, well, I can check that off the list. Because that was a massive undertaking. To go from the ensemble to that, I was like, got it, got what Broadway is. I'm good for, like, it wasn't I'm gone, I'm never coming back. It was just like, I just feel like it's been like a case-by-case basis. And obviously Waitress was a gift from the heavens, and this is another gift that dropped in my lap. So it's really just based on like what I feel like I can bring myself to and bring my heart to, and that I feel like it's a story I should or could be telling, you know?
You've only had a handful of Broadway credits, but you've been in these iconic shows. So you've either been, I like to think they're all very lucky to have had you, or you've also been very lucky to sort of get into the right
I'm the
shows.
lucky one. I am
Because
the lucky
everyone
one.
knows Hairspray, everybody knows Wicked. Waitress now has its own sort of cult following. The amazing actress who played Jenna in Waitress. If you go to like a Shoshana Bean, if she's gonna sing her hits, people are gonna know them in the audience.
I'm a lucky girl. I don't know how I got so lucky, truly.
Talk a little bit more about Hairspray. That
Yeah.
is an amazing group of people.
Yep.
Obviously, it has gone on to become an iconic show. I mean, I was in the rehearsal room for some of that, and it kind of felt magic from...
Did it in the rehearsal room?
Didn't it feel like
I don't think we knew till we got to Seattle. It was a hit before we even got back here. It was so bizarre.
When you think about that girl who opened in Hairspray 20 summers ago, how do you look at her and sort of the journey, and how do you look at all of this now? I mean, it must be a very different experience stepping into a new Broadway run than what that was like back then for you.
I think that she would be over the moon if she could get a sneak peek at sort of what was coming for her. And I think for me, I can't ever talk about Hairspray without crying. This happens every time. It's such a tender part of my life, and those people are still the most important people in my life. So I think for me, looking back, I know that it will never be as innocent and as exciting. I mean, you only get your first time once.
Welcome back to the Broadway Show. I'm Tamsen Fadal. Let's get back to it. Moulin Rouge is this past season's most honored show at the Tony Awards. We met up with one of the show's great performers at Open Jar Studios to find out why he's just got to dance.
I am Fred Odgaard. I am the assistant dance captain and an ensemble member at Moulin Rouge. I first started dancing when I was 4 years old. I had a lot of excess energy, so my mom thought it would be a good idea to kind of channel that somewhere. So I have been dancing since like the little baby age of 4. Yeah, my first time on stage, I remember like being the age of 10. It was like the first time I ever had done like a dance solo on my own. It was like the first time I think I felt like super like exhilarated in what that could feel like. There's a funny story that goes along with that. I wore glasses forever, like pretty much my whole life, and I used to take them off to dance and then put them back on. And I had a knee slide at the end of my solo, and I slid forward with so much excitement and energy. I tumbled off the front of the stage and then stood up and put my hands up like this at the end, and everybody thought that that was how my solo was supposed to end. And no. I saw the movie of Moulin Rouge in theaters in 2001. I'm like obsessed with music, and there was so much like nuance that gave it such a incredible body wash of feelings that sort of really inspired and gave me this like hunger to like want to do something like that. To dance in Moulin Rouge is such a heightened experience. I put so much of my own like blood and sweat and tears and movement into the show that it's as much a part of me as I am a part of it. It is such a wonderful place to put your energy.
And that's going to do it for us. Until next time, I'm Tamsen Fadal, and this is The Broadway Show. Thanks for watching.